Good day. So here is my magisterial lecture about my final research entitled Understanding Through Our Senses. So here is my thesis. By closely looking at how we know things through our senses, we can learn important things how reliable and limited our understanding of the world is. So here is my three supporting points. First is that the differences in how people see things show that our experiences with our senses can change. People see things differently because our senses perceive the world uniquely, showing that our experiences shape how we understand the world around us. Second supporting point is that our eyes can sometimes play tricks on us, making us see things that are not really there. Sometimes our eyes can trick us into seeing things that are not there or interpreting them wrongly, showing that our vision is not always reliable. Last supporting point is that the way we see things is influenced by our culture and personal differences. Our culture and experiences shape how we see things, making everyone's perspective unique and different. So here is my objections. First is that people see things differently doesn't necessarily mean our sensory experiences undergo significant changes. When people see things differently, it doesn't mean our senses change a lot. It's just that everyone thinks and understands things in their own way, influenced by their thoughts, feelings, and personal backgrounds. So second is that making mistakes doesn't mean our eyes or senses are always wrong. Just because we make mistakes, it doesn't mean our eyes or senses are always wrong. Our brains sometimes misinterpret what they see due to things that like expectation or distraction. And last is that our views can be influenced by culture and personal differences. Our senses collect information from the world, but our cultural background and personal experiences can affect on how we understand that information. So while our views may be different, it doesn't mean our senses are always wrong. So they're just influenced by our individual backgrounds. So here is my three answer to objection. First is that the individuals may perceive things differently, but it doesn't necessarily change their basic sensory experiences. People might see, hear, or feel things differently because of their own backgrounds or preferences, but they are still using the same senses. So even if two people have different opinions, they're still both experiencing the same basic sensory input. Second is that occasional mistakes in perception do not necessarily mean our senses are consistently unreliable. Sometimes we might get things wrong because our senses misinterpret information, but this doesn't mean our senses are always wrong. Usually they give us the right idea about what's happening around us. So lastly is that culture and personal differences do influence on how we perceive things visually. Our culture and personal experiences affect what we think is visually appealing. For example, someone might like bright colors because they grew up in energetic culture, while another person might prefer muted tones because of their personal taste. So here is my insight. First is that people see things differently, but their basic senses usually stay the same. People might have different opinions about what they see, but their senses like seeing and hearing generally work the same way. So even if two people don't agree on something, they're still using the same basic senses. So here is my insight. Second is that occasionally errors in perception do not imply constant unreliability in our senses. And lastly is that culture and personal differences shape visual perception. And lastly is my conclusion. My conclusion is that human perception shapes how understanding of the world by revealing both its reliability and limitations. Thank you.